Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to Red Storm Chasers. I'm Vincent here with Nick. Welcome back. It's been a while for the Red Storm Chasers, but on this episode, we're going to look back at the win against Xavier, and then we'll look ahead to the Georgetown and Providence games. Nick, good to be back on with you.
Yeah, it's great to be back. I missed the last couple, and it's been a while since we've been on together.
Yeah, during our hiatus, it was a little, we traveled a bit, as a family, obviously. So it was just kind of hard to coordinate. January is a busy month. So just good time for St. John's basketball. 3-0 during the time of which we've had a bit of a lapse in episodes with wins against Georgetown, Seton Hall, and Xavier. That Seton Hall win, which I was more nervous about. Yeah, more nervous about than I probably needed to be, clearly. Was just dominant. I mean, almost 30 points at the Prudential Center. I was nervous because it was at the Prudential Center, but clearly no reason to be.
Yeah, were you terrible at the Prudential Center? I think we've won once in the last 10 years? There's 10 seasons.
Not great, but this season great.
For that one, actually.
This season great.
Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't at Prudential Center. Never mind.
No, that was at the Walsh Gym game.
That was at the Walsh Gym.
Yeah.
Great success at Walsh Gym.
That's okay. We'd take more games there, even though we won this year. Still a house of horrors for us. Anyway, all right. This week, the starting five. The starting five for us this week, Nick, is going to be the 5 best parts of going to a game at Madison Square Garden.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good one.
So that'll be the starting 5. I'll give you a minute to think about it. So I'll go first. Okay. Obviously, I thought about it as I came up with the question. My number 1, I guess this is in no particular order, since it's the starting 5, not a top 5, but the atmosphere, just the general atmosphere in Madison Square Garden is just, a great feeling. I feel like it's energized, even though, listen, we've had a lot of games where we haven't had a lot of people and it's kind of quiet. There's just always kind of a cool feeling of being at Madison Square Garden. So that's why I put the atmosphere on my list. Second one I listed was the busyness of the concourses. I always think it's kind of cool seeing all the fans from other teams, but also, a lot of red as you walk through the kind of tight in some, if you're in the second level, it's certainly tight. The main concourse is a little more spread out, but
I like that. I like that you get to see everybody's what everybody's wearing. Like some people are wearing jerseys, some people.
Yeah. I think that's a cool part.
That little flag.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a cool part of it, of the concourse there. I said the lighting would be my third. How the court is very obviously, and this is kind of true of all arenas. However, I feel like the navy blue seats and kind of the darker paint in Madison Square Garden makes the court feel more illuminated than other places.
Okay.
Which it makes it a real focal point, which I find to be very interesting, very cool. My fourth one was the drinks. I love those little Madison Square Garden cups. Okay. If you get an alcoholic beverage, you know what I'm talking about. They used to come. They used to come with like a sippy top, but they still sort of do, but not as much.
You like the sippy top?
I do. I think it's cool. I think it's what better way to drink alcohol than out of an adult sippy cup.
I do like that. They didn't want to use plastic straws anymore, so they just made plastic lids.
Yeah, that's better. Nice. But no, I do like those little cups. I don't know why. I just think they're funny. And my last one is, and everybody who's been to a game at Madison Square Garden will remember, or will can attest to this being a major moment. Is the escalators going up and down. Most people take the stairs going down, but the escalators going up to the game is always kind of a cool feeling.
It's kind of build as you're going up.
Yeah, you can hear some noise, some chatter back and forth between people if it's a big game or it's particularly busy. So I think that's a cool spot and kind of unique to Madison Square Garden because most courts are obviously you walk in, you're on court level, but Madison Square Garden the court level is on the 5th floor. So it's kind of different in that aspect. Nick, what's your starting 5?
Yeah, so in my starting 5, I definitely have to agree with you that the atmosphere is one of my favorite. Like in the stadium too, like in the bowl, more particularly. Like I like looking around and everybody's like kind of there's like everybody's a little juiced up, especially recently, maybe this year, a little more so than past years. Everybody's a little more juiced up, everybody's ready to go, and there's I feel like us as fans are just we're all kind of similar, right? Where other programs, like you get a kind of mixed bag of like, old alumni and all this. We do have old alumni, but also even the older alumni like yell their heads off. So everybody's we're all basketball minded people, right? There's no football, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I think that's kind of very true of St. John's fans. Is that listen, there's been a lot of hard years, right? As we all know, and there's a lot of games where there haven't been a lot of people in attendance. But when you do look around, you see a lot of mixed fans, old, young, mainly older fans, but who bring the same energy, like you said, Nick. So that is
Yeah.
cool to see.
So my number two, or I guess my second starting thing, would be the ceiling in MSG. It's super iconic.
Okay.
It kind of goes to your point with the lighting too, because they have the red lights,
Yep.
especially when we're playing. They have the red lights going from
Hmm.
the top. It's I just love like looking it up every time I go. It's just MSG is amazing. It's
Yeah, it's a very, very
world's most
cool.
famous arena
That's
for
right.
a reason. My number three would be seeing Louis' banner up in
That's
the
a good one.
rafter. For seeing 526, seeing St. John's represented in MSG at all times is pretty cool. My fourth one would be at halftime. I go to Madison Bar, which is between section 102 and 101 and 102.
Nice.
A lot of like some of the former managers that I was managers with meet there, and there's a lot of people there. It's to your point about being jam packed in the concourse.
Yeah, that
It's
matters.
jam
Yeah,
packed, like
it,
shoulder to shoulder, hard to get through.
it does get busy
Um,
there.
it is a nice meeting point. Get to talk to people that I used to know, which is always nice. Um, and then my fifth and final one would be screaming at games. This is kind of not only just an MSG, it's kind of a sports general thing. I just love that, being at a sporting event is the only time where you can really scream your head off and nobody cares. As long as you're like clean with it, right? You can't be cursing and yelling and
Yeah,
being like,
that's fair.
profane. As long as you're yelling cleanly and not being too obnoxious, you can kind of scream whatever you want.
Hmm.
And it's just great. It's a great place to get your emotions out.
It certainly is, and particularly this season for St. John's. But no, that's a good starting five, Nick. I like that. Let us know your starting five. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram. You know, let us know.
Wherever.
Um, this season, by the way, Madison Square Garden rocking for St. John's,
Oh yeah.
undefeated at home. And the most recent game we're going to talk about right now, was incredible. Incredible atmosphere. It was the win against Xavier we're talking about on Tuesday. Overtime win, 79-71. It was a bigger test. Xavier's a good team. They're a team they beat UConn this past weekend, so they're a team who's got a shot at making the tournament.
They're the
And
next four out, according to Joe Lenardi,
okay,
before the UConn win.
right. So there you
So
go. So they're probably going to be, they're in that first four in category ish, bouncing around in that area.
the last
Uh,
four, probably.
but
Yep.
we completed the sweep against them. And when you start compiling sweeps against teams, that's a good feeling, to be honest.
Yeah. Just
Um,
feeling that we're not too used to recently.
Absolutely. And what it really is it gives us another good win. Now, the knock on us, if you will, is that we haven't played anybody, but Xavier's a legit team. Xavier's a constant tournament team. Go look over the past however many years. They're constantly in the mix. They're a good program. They're a good team this year, obviously. We talked about them beating UConn. So, when you get a nice win like that at home, the atmosphere is obviously great, and it just helps build our resume even further.
No,
Uh,
I agree 100%. Also, like, it's funny. I agree that people are saying, like, oh, we haven't been tested. We haven't played a lot of people. We played Baylor, who was ranked at a point,
mm-hmm.
especially when we played him. We played him to double overtime, and we lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
Okay? We played, and by the way, they're also in Joe Lenardi's in the tournament right now, as of
Okay.
right now. We lost to Georgia, which we looked awful in. They're also a tournament team right now.
Yeah.
Joe Lenardi. Now they got waxed by Florida by 30 yesterday,
Oh, that's all right.
but they're still probably going to be in the
They'll
mix.
still probably be a tournament team, yeah. I mean, both those teams have floated with being ranked. They've been ranked. They've dropped out. They've been ranked. They've dropped out
Listen,
recently.
we played Kansas State in the Big 12 challenge.
It's a real game.
We played Virginia, by the way, in the second game of the Bahamas. Let's not forget that, right? And we played New Mexico, who's also a tournament team right now.
New Mexico's our best win, to be honest, and they are on track to win the Mountain West. So I know people don't necessarily think of the Mountain West, although Mountain West is a very good basketball conference. They got 5 teams in last year. That's a real win. That's a legit win.
Yeah, they're 58 in the net right now. So if they get up to 50, that win will look a lot better. So to say that we haven't been tested is a little not true. It's a little unfair.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly in the easier part of our Big East schedule right now. Things are going to, we play Marquette twice and UConn twice in the February section. But to be fair, you can only beat the teams you play, and we've done a great job at beating the teams we play. And I think Xavier is a perfect example of that. They are a real tournament team, most likely, or a fringe tournament team, and we swept them. So you got to give credit where credit's due. But I think the people who are kind of anti us, they can just wait and watch, right? This team finds
Yeah.
ways to win, and no matter what, we're on trending to be a team that is, a force from the Big East. So anyway, let's look back at that Xavier game, 79-71. We won in overtime. Not our best 3-point shooting effort. Another game where we made one 3-pointer. We were 1 for 12, which is 8%. Shot 47% from the field, though, to Xavier's 40. So, a bit higher in that category. Good from the free throw line as well, 82%. The +7 rebound margin certainly helped. And then at the end of the day, we actually ended up even on the turnover margin. So this was a game where we kind of not gritted it out, but we, down the stretch, it was a back and forth game. It was a close game, and we did what we needed to do to get the job done.
Yeah, we were just, as you said, we were just grittier than them. It seemed like we wanted it more towards the end of the game. Now, of course, we have a terrible first half, as we always have, but then we really just turned it up in the second half, which is incredible. It's very different from what we've seen in the past, and we're good at it. Like you said, we find ways to win. Good teams find ways to win. We're a good team.
We are very much a second half team. We were down by 10 at halftime. We were down 40-30 at halftime. We were down as much as 16 in this game. Found our way back in the second half, as we always do. Came roaring back with a huge run and, brought ourselves into overtime. Kadari Richmond, what a game, right? Led the team, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. But I actually think, listen, Kadari's been coming on these past few games. Now, he's only had 2 Big East games, actually, where he's scored under 10 points. But these past 3 games, I think you've kind of seen a resurgence of the player we kind of expected him to be. And I think this game in particular, he took over a bit down the stretch. He was the general on the court, leading the team, making the drives, getting fouled, hitting the free throws, which I personally was excited to see because he's a guy that this is the kind of Kadari Richmond we kind of expected to see all season.
Yeah.
And it really came to light in this game, and it led us to victory.
Yeah, he really did. He decided towards the end of the game, like, I'm just gonna take the ball and I'm gonna run it down their throats. And he did. He made a couple mistakes. I can't believe that he went up for that layup and then he tried to make it a dunk and then he just completely whiffed it.
Well, it
But
happens.
it was not a great look. But hey, he got the job done at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. He's heading in the right direction. Zuby, RJ, Wilcher all had 16 this game, so 4 of our 5 starters were in double digits, which you'll absolutely love to see. For Xavier, Ryan Conwell absolutely killed us from 3. He was 4 of 9. He had 21 points on the day. Swain had 16 points, and Fremantle, who's there's no way his NBA career can be as long as his college career, which has gone on for 15 years now at this point. But he had 14 as well. But he ended up fouling out, which I think helped us in overtime because it cleared out the space down low a little bit.
Well, definitely. But Aaron Scott also fouled out too for us, so that hurt us.
Yeah, that was not great. But yeah, I mean, listen, in overtime, you're likely to get guys who are going to foul out, right? And it's just going to happen. Fortunately for us, Aaron Scott wasn't having a great game, to be honest. He had 5 points, which is fine, but it wasn't his best game. So, I think the foul trouble hurt him.
Yeah. No, it definitely hurt them more.
Yeah, for sure. It was nice to see. Listen, Ruben Prey got a lot of time in this game. 17 minutes, 5. He got 6 rebounds in the game, 5 defensive rebounds. Didn't put any points on the board, but it's nice to see him get some minutes. And Vince played great in this game. He didn't play for all that long. He played for 6 minutes, but he got 5 points. And he had a great sweet sequence there where he made a block, got back, got a bucket, and a foul. It was great. It's great to see other guys get involved, because the benefit of having a deep team is you're going to need these guys down the stretch, right? I mean, we play a lot of people for a reason, so it's good to see these guys step in and take advantage of the time they get.
Yeah, no, everybody, especially Vince in particular in this game, everybody's been coming in with energy. You know what I mean? We just like we both said, like we just out hustled them, right? Like
Yeah,
towards the end of the game. In the first half, we always seem to be a little
we were
trepidatious
behind.
in the first half, but we really turn it up and we get into another gear and then we feed off the energy of MSG. You know what I mean? That's why it's funny how quiet it gets sometimes when we're not on a good run, and then all of a sudden we liven up in a second and it's roaring.
Yeah, no, it is great to be at home when you go to overtime for sure. And overtime was all St. John's. I mean,
Oh yeah, we
we dominated overtime. I mean, listen, we won by 8 points, which doesn't sound like that much, but when you think about it, in overtime, we outscored them 14-6.
Yeah,
It was just a dominant overtime for us. There were, we took the lead right away.
yeah,
Um,
we turned them
it,
over real quick.
very quickly, we were up
You
by
see we got a lay
5, and we never looked back.
Kadari hit a jumper, you know what I mean? And then it was just like, all right, we're winning this. We're just
Right,
the better team.
we were
Once you
up
get to
8.
overtime, the better team wins.
Yeah, we were up 8 before they even scored in overtime. So,
Yeah,
when you get up like that, you're
it's hard.
bound for a good result. All right, that was the one game this past week. So Nick, let's do our spotlight player of the week. Obviously, it's small sample to look at, just the one game. I'll let you go first, but I know who I'm voting for.
I think this week you got to go with Kadari Richmond. He had 19 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. You know, he was everywhere. He was commanding, and he's turning into, like you said, he's turning into what he used to be, right? So I think he's clearly the spotlight player of the week.
I would agree. I think you have to go Kadari Richmond. I think it's not even much of a question. Like you said, I mean, you read his stat line. Fantastic game for him, and he really took over. It wasn't a quiet 19. It was a controlling 19. Because at the end of the game, he was the guy on every drive, going down, getting the basket. So great for him.
44 minutes.
Spotlight player of the week. He well deserved spotlight player of the week. Hopefully we get a lot more Kadari Richmond. I'd love to see him really explode back onto the scene. Not that he's been whatever. Like I said, he's only had 2 games where he didn't score 10 points. It's just he tends to score quietly sometimes. So it's great to see him kind of have a loud game as it as a term. So he's Kadari Richmond spotlight player of the week. As we head into looking ahead, we currently sit tied first place with Marquette in the Big East. We're 8-1 in Big East play, 17-3 on the year. Our net ranking is 26. Our Ken Palm ranking is 18, which I absolutely love to see. Obviously, we were ranked 20 this past week. There'll be a new ranking coming out on Monday. We're recording before that, so I'm sure we'll remain in the rankings because we didn't lose. We may even go up. I would assume, particularly after the Xavier beating UConn helps us there. We'll probably go up a few spots, which would be nice.
Yeah.
I also think, just to talk about that Xavier win over UConn a little bit, I actually think it's huge for 2 reasons. First of all, it gives the boost that I talked about. Secondarily, which is not common for us, right? I want to talk about something that we haven't really thought about in quite a while as a St. John's. What it really does is it helps us in the Big East standings with a chance to win the conference, because it puts UConn 2 games behind us. They now have 3 losses in conference. We only have 1. So just getting a little more gap between teams is great. I know it's not something that St. John's fans automatically start to think about in terms of how we can win the Big East regular season. But we got a shot this year, guys. And that's a win like that actually helps us quite a bit. The more losses they have, obviously we're going to play them twice.
Right.
So, if we can beat them twice, that's going to, we're going to clear them, right? But if we split or something, a loss like this gives us a nice, little gap. Which is just nice to see. Nice to have that conversation, to be completely honest, that we can even think about that being a thing.
You make me want to break down every single game that's coming up. The next 11 games left, and yeah. No, I definitely agree that the Xavier win over UConn was good, especially because, like you said earlier, or like we talked about earlier, Xavier is or was like the next four out or first four out or whatever. Now they should be considered like the last four in, right? And if we can get that fifth Big East team, I think that's good for the conference. If just below half of our conference makes the tournament, it's been very, very beneficial for us.
Oh, absolutely. And we've obviously been big East fans for a long time. It's always beneficial for the league to do well. This year, I find myself not as interested in that. Not completely. Just we now have a much bigger rooting interest in our success being the only success that matters, because we're there.
100%. I just
So
think it would be
no,
nice
no,
if the people below us could get a little.
no. You're 100% right,
Well,
Nick. It's just funny the change in yes, that's very nice for the Big East to do well. However, if we could also win the conference, and get as high of a seed as humanly possible in the NCAA tournament, that's my main focus. Which is funny
yeah.
because
By
for
the way,
years it's always been, will we make it? Can we make it? Can we do it? And this team, who just goes out and wins, has the mindset very changed.
Joe Lenardi and a lot of the other bracketologists have us in the 5 seed right now, which I think is a little disrespectful considering we're 20 in the country.
I
That
see
should
it. No,
put you
they
in
have.
the
I see it as a lot as in the 6. I thought it was
5 and 6 then.
okay.
I think Lenardi had us in the 5.
Either way, I'm with you, Nick. Disrespectful. I mean,
It's like
5 or 6. I mean,
we're 20 in the country. We're going to be higher than 20. We're going to be a top 20 team.
We're gonna be. We should be after this week. Yeah.
We almost certainly will. It's, like you said, with UConn's loss, Baylor, I believe, lost.
Yeah, there are several teams in
already
front of
know
us that
it's
lost
happening.
as well. So, we should shift up in that category. But yeah, no, that's okay. Let them disrespect us. Let them think we're not as good as we are. It goes back to the conversation about oh, you haven't beat anybody. That's fine. That's fine. Think that. Please think that. Underestimate us coming into the game.
And you know what the best part about all this is too?
What?
Big East tournament, baby. MSG home game.
Yeah.
If we can get a ruckus crowd this year, this could be our year, baby.
Listen, we saw it in the Villanova game. We saw it in the Xavier game.
Tournament.
Loud crowds for St. John's these past few Madison Square Garden games, and we're in the Madison Square Garden section of our schedule, if you will.
Yeah. Now it gets juicy. Now we have our tougher schedules.
For sure. Well, the first game this week, not at Madison Square Garden. We got to take a trip to D.C. to play at Georgetown on Tuesday. Georgetown 13-7, 4-5 in the Big East. This game Tuesday, 6:30 on Fox Sports 1. They're a sneaky team, though. In our last meeting, we beat them 63-58. They're coming off of a loss against Providence, which Providence fans were more than happy to beat Ed Cooley at home. But they're a sneaky team. They're not someone, coming into the season, it was like George, after last season's terrible season for them, it was like Georgetown going to be bad again. They're actually pretty decent. So they're not someone to overlook. And I think we saw that in our last matchup with them. 63-58 is pretty close. Closer than I think some of us thought it would be, particularly for a game at home.
Yeah, and it's a rivalry game, Everybody gets up for a rivalry game. We got history. Even it was on Peacock when we played. I will say this. I didn't get to go to the game the last time we played them at MSG, but Peacock did a really good job at doing the history of the Georgetown St. John's game. It was very cool, and they did a little Louis thing too.
That's
nice.
Very,
very good. Peacock actually doesn't. I don't support when it's on a streaming service. I like it better.
Yeah, I don't. That's the only part I don't love.
But I do think they did a good job. Peacock does a good job.
They do a decent job. I just hate that you can't flip around. Although they do. I love their halftime coverage when they just give you like a live look at another game. That's great. I think that's a great way to do halftime.
It is. You're already paying for the service, right?
Right. So you might as well show me some other games. But I don't love that you can't flip to other stuff. Anyway, let's look back at the previous Georgetown matchup. RJ led the team, 19 points. Aaron Scott also had a phenomenal game. He had 14. He was 4 of 7 from 3. If we could get shooting like that again from Aaron Scott, that would be very nice. To be honest, if we could just be 4 of 7 from 3, period, as a team, that would be very nice.
That'd be a huge increase.
To see more than one 3-pointer go in, I would love.
Yeah, we'll tell you this though. When Simeon Wilcher hit that 3, it was electric.
Oh, listen, it was. Yes, I mean, when we do hit him, because we hit him so infrequently, it's a boost. It's kind of more of a boost than other teams. but we're going to have to hit a few more of those once we start playing the Marquettes of the world. Micah Peavy led the all scoring actually, but he dropped 21 for Georgetown. He's someone we certainly have to watch for. Thomas Sorber, he actually leads the team in points per game, but we held him in check last time. We hit only 5 points. We can do that again. We'll be in a good position to win. Just to give you their net ranking, they're 82 in the net. So you can see they're kind of a middle of the pack team. And they're certainly a middle of the pack team in the Big East. Kind of, I guess, well, yeah, I would say almost true middle of the pack, but not. Providence is actually kind of closer to the middle of the pack. We also play them this week.
Yeah, they're in the same mix.
They're in the same. They're both 4 and 5. So it's, there's kind of that breakdown. We talked about teams that can make the tournament, from the Big East. There's the Marquette, us, UConn in the Big East. And then I think it's kind of Creighton, Xavier, and Villanova is either in that category or they're in the Providence, Georgetown category, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of.
I think Villanova could sneak in if they have a really good second half to the Big East season.
Yeah, they've had a bit of stumbles more recently, but yeah, I mean, listen, they could get there. They could get there.
Yeah.
They're 5-5, 12-9 on the year. But I do think they're kind of in that third tier.
Yeah, Georgetown, I don't
somewhere
think
between.
has a chance. So I think Georgetown is just outside of that.
Yeah, well, I think the Georgetown and Providence are kind of that they are that true, third tier of the Big East.
No, 100%.
Right. Then there's the fourth tier, which is just sad to look at, to be honest. The Butler, Seton Hall, DePaul section, particularly after DePaul had such a kind of a nice start to the season. They have fallen back into their old trends.
Having 10 wins for them is nice.
Sure, they have yeah, right. But I'm gonna say they got 11 losses. So. Still better overall record than Butler and Seton Hall. But anyway, looking back at this Georgetown game, Nick, what do you think the key for St. John's is against Georgetown?
I think the key to this Georgetown game is going to be keeping Sorber in check. Sorber is one of the best freshmen in the country. He's leading the team with 14.8 points a game, 9.1 rebounds. He even has 1 steal and 2.6 assists, which isn't great. But he's their best player on their team. After that is PV. Outside of that, I don't think they're much of a threat, right? Jaden Epps is good. I feel like he's fallen off a little bit this season. But once you get past Sorber, then you just have to worry about PV. And one of them, listen, every team is going to have somebody who gets double digits, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You can make that only one person, you're going to win the game. And I think if we make sure that it's Sorber, and you listen, it's going to be a battle between him and Zuby, right? Zuby's the best offensive rebounder in the country. I'm pretty sure Sorber is one of the best defensive rebounders, definitely in the Big East, maybe in the country. So that's going to be the battle. I think that's going to be the most important.
All right. I think you're right. I think we did a great job of it last time, right? 5 points for him. He did have 10 rebounds, but if we can hold him down to single digits again, like you said, even with PV scoring 21 last time, we were able to come away with the win. So keeping Sorber in check is a great key. For me, I'm going to go outside the box. I think the key for us will be to hit more than 1 3-pointer. And I think we can win we can win even if we hit 1 3-pointer. But I think for us, clearly we can. But I think for us, it's key to start getting our 3-point shooting in a place where it doesn't have to be our main focus, but where it can be not a glaring area of concern. Right. I think right now, when you're hitting 1 3-pointer, it's a wow, you can't shoot threes. Right. So against teams like Georgetown and Providence, you can win games without it. But then you play Marquette and they're just going to, they're going to go, okay, shoot the threes. Yeah. We'll let you shoot the threes because you're going to miss. And then we're going to get in our heads about it. It piles on. So I think we really need this next few games kind of get our 3-pointing in a place where it's, again, we don't need to hit 15, but if we hit 4, if we hit 4, if we hit 5, if it's a small part of our game, that's fine. But as long as it's not a huge detriment to our game, so I'd like to see us shoot threes, and I think that could be a key to winning the game.
I think you're right.
All right, the other game we have this week is Providence, like we talked about. 10-10 on the year. The Friars 4-5 in the Big East. This game Saturday on CBS Sports Network at Madison Square Garden. Make sure you get your tickets, get out there, and get loud. We played them very closely in our last game. It was a 2-point win, 72-70. So even though they're not having the best season, they're a team that can get us. So make sure you go out and support. They'll play Seton Hall this week before they play us. They also just beat Georgetown, so they'll likely be on a 2-game win streak when they head into the game against us. The last matchup, we thought we might see Bryce Hopkins. They've once again lost Bryce Hopkins to a knee injury. I got to be honest, the poor kid can't catch a break. He missed all last season with a torn ACL, and then he re-injured a knee against DePaul, and he hasn't been back. And he's a great player. So it's really unfortunate to see him, go through another season of struggle where I'm sure he was excited to get back. And not to, obviously we would be rooting for him not to score that many points. But still, you got to give some credit where credit's due, and some disappointment when a good player gets hurt and misses. Obviously, probably a second season. It is tough to see.
You never root for anybody to get hurt.
Right, exactly. All right, so the two guys that you do have to watch out for, Jaden Pierre and Bensley Joseph, they both average 12. They're actually the only two guys on the team who average double digits. They showed that last time against us. They had Joseph had 17, Pierre had 16. But this is a team that, listen, they just went out and beat Georgetown, who's a fairly decent team.
Yeah.
But we did play pretty well against them. Zuby in particular. This is a pretty guard-heavy team in Providence without Bryce Hopkins, obviously. Zuby had 19. I think this is another game where we may have to rely on Zuby a bit more because of how guard-heavy this team is. Davion Smith also had 16 in that game. It would be nice to get him back, but
we got to get him back in the mix.
He's still coming back from injury. So the nice thing and the kind of weird thing is it's good to have him recovering and still winning games for us. So we've got a longer focus, right? We're focused on the Big East tournament. We're focused on the NCAA tournament. Let's not rush him back. Take the time, let him get healthy and then step back into his role. Because when he plays, he's, obviously a key member of the team, and he's absolutely fantastic.
Just like you said, we're playing a bigger game than just trying to win games and trying to scrap games to get into the tournament. Now we got to be playing more long term, right? So I agree with you that we shouldn't have to rush him back, and especially not when we're winning, right? Not saying that we don't need him because he would be a huge addition, or again, not addition, but he was already there. But putting him back in our lineup would really transcend our offense and our defense even more.
Right, and listen, he did play a little bit in the Seton Hall game. But he did not play. His feet wet. Yeah, he did not play against Xavier.
I think that's a good idea, though, to put him in for a couple minutes, see how he's feeling. When we're
I think it's good to get him some minutes, get him back on that court. But let's get him healthy and then get him back. So we'll have to see. But they actually, this Providence team out rebounded us last time, which is also why I think Zuby is going to be a key element of this game. Now we did dominate them in turnovers. It was a plus 11 turnover margin for us. That's certainly led us on to victory. But I do think, we got to get, you're going to see guys like Vince and Ruben Prey, they're going to get real minutes here because Providence is small. You could see those guys, kind of contribute with, particularly Vince at 7-1. Providence doesn't really have an answer for him. So if I was Pitino, I think I'd kind of lean on my big guys a bit in this game and say, all right, let's go win this one down low, where they're not as skilled.
I think that's a good point too. If you try to back them down low too, you have to have the guards kind of help them, and then you could kick it out and try to get the three going a little bit.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That's another way you can get the three going is by establish a low game early, and then start kicking out and getting the opportunities and swinging it hopefully around. Turning around our 3-point shooting.
There's got to be something in the water at St. John's, because it's multiple seasons, multiple teams, multiple players, different coaches.
Yeah, I don't know why we've struggled to hit the three so much over these past.
3-point shooter, a consistent 3-point shooter since Shamori Bonds. Before that, D'Angelo Harris.
We had Max Hooper on the team, who was the best 3-point shooter in college basketball history, but not for us.
Something in the water, man.
It's got to be. Listen, I think this is a week where we need to go 2-0.
Certainly.
Only because this is a week where we should go 2-0. And a stumble to either of these teams turns into the start of the next section, which is very hard of our schedule. Basically, this is we play Marquette and we play UConn next week, right?
Yeah.
So we win this week and go into that, the tough matchup, home against Marquette at UConn, with some confidence. A stumble here could hurt that confidence. But also, Nick, what could happen with 2 wins? We find ourselves virtually a lock for the NCAA tournament. We'd be at 19 wins on February 1st.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Have a whole another month, including at least one DePaul game where we're
and a Seton Hall game and a Butler game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like 19 wins by February 1st. That's something we haven't seen in St. John's jerseys in a long time.
It's not in my lifetime. Not even close to my lifetime. I don't think in your lifetime. I don't think in Craig's lifetime.
So get these 2 wins, get to 19, and then going in, we've got the toughest week of our season coming up. Let's go in with confidence. Let's get the wins, and let's go from there.
And you know what? We're just better than Georgetown and Providence.
We are.
Like, we shouldn't lose to them. If we are who we think we are, which is I think you can argue that we're a top 15 team. If we get the 3 going,
I would
we're
agree.
a top 5 team. We're just better than them. So if
Absolutely.
we think we're better than them, which we are, we can't lose to them. We're not going to them.
No, we should not lose to these teams. And listen, obviously you can throw up a clunker every once in a while. It happens. But the at Georgetown game for me,
when you shoot 8% from the 3, I think that kind of is a clunker, and we're winning anyway.
That's fair. The at Georgetown game I think is more scary for me, just because it's on the road. Listen, we haven't lost at home yet,
Right.
But the at Georgetown game I think is a little more scary for me, mainly because I think Ed Cooley has had our number in the past, and I know it's a different team and I know it's a different school, but he's a good coach. As much as I hate him, he's a good coach. So not that Kim English isn't, but we beat Providence already this year, and we did beat Georgetown this year. But going on the road is always a little tougher. So I think that if we win on Tuesday, I'll feel more confident for the Saturday game.
Did you see that Kim English said that the only thing we're good at is getting rebounds and I think he said getting layups?
Oh, see, that's
defense.
First of all, if Kim English is talking shit, that's already a mistake, by the way.
Yeah.
Like Ed Cooley came out last game after we beat them and was nothing but nice and was like, "Hey, these guys deserve to be ranked. It's ridiculous they are, and people don't understand how good this team is." Kind words from a guy who St. John's fans tended to dislike quite a bit. If Kim English is talking shit with a 10-10 team, he's making a mistake. Just flat out, come to Madison Square Garden, you're gonna find out. So good news is he'll get to find out on Saturday. And I didn't realize he said that. So let's hope we run him out the gym.
Oh yeah, I hope we beat him by 30. And I'm going to be obnoxious to their fans.
Good. Providence fans, top 2 worst in the league.
Who's number 1?
No, UConn. I mean, UConn fans are unbearable. Providence fans are damn near close.
Duke fans are pretty bad.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in the Big East.
That's fair.
You got to put it's got to be UConn, Providence, Villanova. Like that's the top 3.
Did you see that Hurley said that to the ref that he was the best coach in the country?
He did.
He yelled at apparently.
By the way, that the Dan Hurley burnout is starting to begin.
Oh yeah, he's looking like a toddler.
You go look at the game. You go look at that game that they just lost to Xavier. You go look at so Caravan fouled out, right? You look at those 5 fouls. To be fair to UConn, 2 or 3 of them really weren't fouls, right? But the problem is Dan Hurley's out there. He's talking bad about the refs. He's always complaining. Yeah. Sometimes it helps him. It certainly helps him sometimes. But I think now refs have kind of turned on him, and it's starting to hurt him more. And when his team is not as good, because this UConn team is not as good as the previous 2 years, it's hard to overcome that aspect of the game. When your coach has pissed off the referees, and all of a sudden they're going to start to call the game close, you're not going to get the calls you used to get.
Especially when you
And
say
listen,
things like I'm the best coach in the country.
I mean,
What is
it's
the
just
point of that?
ridiculous too. I mean,
It's
like,
basically like, do you know who I am? It's like, who the fuck are
yeah,
you?
yeah. Why would you say that? And he's showing up the refs, and they don't like that. So I get it from their perspective. You know, at a
Yeah, I mean,
certain
he's
point,
annoying. He's a little badger.
they'll take the yelling on the court and stuff like that. But when you go in the press conference and you talk about how bad the refs are, which he's done multiple times this year, you know, that's going to come back to hurt you. And I think we're starting to see that. So couldn't have a nicer group of guys. But let's hope they stay up in the rankings long enough till next week when we play them.
Yeah, they might be knocked out tomorrow.
Nah, they'll probably still be ranked, but they're going to be. They fall behind us. They'll certainly fall behind us.
They probably go down to, if they keep him in, it's 25.
Yeah, I think they'll be late. You know, the second half of the top 20. I mean, in terms of the 20, like, they'll be, yeah, like you said, 25, 24, if they're ranked at all. So, anyway, that'll do it. For Nick, I'm Vincent. Go Johnnies. Keep chasing.